Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast. Today we have Mustafa Husseini with us, and he is an expert at the follow up and digital marketing. And the reason I wanted to have him on the show is it seems so easy, so self evident that, hey, I had a great conversation with this potential customer. All I need to do is follow up. But most salespeople don't. And I want to know, why the hell does that happen, Mustafa? They've done the hard part. They've got the first appointment. They've had a conversation. And now it's just like calling an old friend back, but most people don't do it. Why the hesitation?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. Hello, and great to be here. That's a great question. There's always a big issue about follow-up, and it took me a while to realize and understand why it is happening. And the answer is it's twofold. One, people just hate to pick up the phone. They just don't like it. And number two is I guess what's behind the hate is that they have a fear of being and appearing salesy and pushy. And so that is why they don't do it. It took me a few years to realize, because I would follow up naturally and I don't even think about it. But there's a story behind that I'd be happy to share if you'd like to.
Well, let's go into that in a minute. But I think really at the end of the day, if you don't know why you're following up and the other person doesn't know why you're following up, then there is an issue. But if in the initial conversation it's like, hey, Mustafa, thank you so much for spending time with me. We had a great conversation and I don't want to leave you hanging. I'm going to be following up in 2 weeks just to make sure we're on the same page. Does that work for you? Yes, it does. Have a nice day. You move on. You kind of set up the stage right up front, and then no one's surprised. You don't feel awkward. Otherwise, it's like, am I going to be too salesy? Is he think I'm going to be pushy? What do I talk about? Why go through all the stress? Just be upfront, right up front.
Good. So what is the end question again?
It wasn't even a question. It was a comment. It's like, the first time I get the appointment, which is the hardest thing to do, right? In that conversation, I'm going to let you know I'll be following up with you. And here's why. And that way, when I do follow up, it's a welcome phone call rather than should I call, shouldn't I call? Set the freaking appointment on that first meeting.
Right. Yeah. And I think it depends on the conversation too. Sometimes you don't want to set the appointment, you just want to follow up. And then sometimes you do want it. It's like, hey, when would work for you? Call me a couple of weeks. And then you always want to follow up, right? And that's where people, Omar, before I forget, we're live on Instagram. Would it be okay if you make this vertical where you and I are side by side in that mode, so that, because it shows up tiny on Instagram?
Okay, I'm not sure how to change this, so we are locked in what we're doing right now.
It's like one of those options at the bottom where it shows the layout of the, I forgot what it looks like. It's a real quick change. It's a side-by-side thingy.
Okay, right now I'm seeing you side by side.
I know. It would be, we become vertical in that mode. So we become larger. There you go. Bingo.
Done. You're a smart
guy. I knew it. So the thing is, people forgot, they dropped the ball. Like you said, they go through all sorts of hassle and headache and spend time, money, energy, resources to find a prospect, find a customer, get a referral, do all that. And they have a conversation, or they get the lead and they don't follow up. They talk to them once, then they don't follow up. And in a lot of cases, as soon as the transaction closes and they receive a payment, that's when the interaction stops. That's when the follow-up stops. And that's where they leave a ton of money on the table. And I mean loads and loads of money. And most of these people, which is almost 80-90% of business owners out there, are always bitching and whining about not having enough sales and what do I do for my leads and all that. It's like, bro, pick up the phone. Come on. You did all that work. Like,
and they loved you. You did that work and they loved you. And there's trust.
Absolutely. You did all that work. Like, come on.
So before we go any further, let's hear from one of our sponsors.
The Instant Review Kiosk captures video testimonials, then automatically converts them into Google written reviews. This is huge for 3 reasons. Number 1, you get more reviews. Number 2, video reviews are just as powerful as a personal recommendation. And most important, we make it super easy for your customers to leave you a review at the height of the experience. Increase your sales by getting a kiosk today.
So not only follow-up, but asking people for a referral or recommendation is also really essential to do, because this day and age, trust is such a huge thing. And Mustafa and I have a trusted relationship, but unless he writes a review or gives me a testimonial, nobody else in the world knows that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's your experience with reviews and testimonials?
I'm digging deep into this thing right now. What's kind of interesting is that 22% of people look for reviews that are 2 weeks old or younger in order to trust the organization they're going to get a haircut from or buy a car from. So having reviews continually is really, really important. Here's the one that really blew me away: is a video testimonial is as powerful as a personal recommendation from a friend. That blows my mind that 50% of people would take a look at video testimonial and go, oh my God, I'll rank that as much as a personal recommendation from a friend. So yeah, I think it's in this day and age, customers are researching your product and your service way before they come in and actually talk to you. And the only reason they want to talk to you is because they've read reviews and testimonials that gives them a level of comfort that they want to do the transaction with you. And so I think it's we're really boxing ourselves in to doing sales that are very online, and we need to play by these new rules to maximize our effectiveness. Thoughts?
That's great. Thoughts on the effectiveness of?
On both of those, that, hey, people are already know what they want to buy. They've done all their research before they come see you. And also the only reason they're going to see you is if there's enough reviews and testimonials for them to pick you as the chosen one to do that transaction with.
That's right. So what we need here is these guys are looking for social proof, and they have doubts, and they're like, yeah, this guy, I like what you're saying. I like you. You seem like a nice guy, but again, I don't have enough trust to what you might call it, to make a decision and give you my credit, right? And so what they want to do is get proof and from other people that said, yes, this guy's good, and it's probably one of the most powerful things. And as you notice, a lot of times, customers say, "Hey, do you have references, or do you have testimonials, or do you have reviews and whatnot?" And then, so another thing about reviews is, and I know this for research and what I've seen out there, is that people don't trust written reviews as much as video testimonials, like you talked about. And the notion behind that is they think that, well, you could just make up some written testimonials about yourself. That's not so hard to do. I mean, you could get ChatGPT to give you 300 written testimonials in like 30 seconds.
Yep.
Right. And so if you have a video testimonial of someone, especially if it's a high-end person, or especially if it's someone from the same industry where that person might know them, or a leader in their industry says, look, Omar is a good coach. You got to talk to Omar. When I worked with Omar, I improved XYZ, and here's the results that I got, and here are the benefits. Boom. That's a sold transaction, right? Versus you now trying to be like, yeah, we're so awesome, we're the best, pay me and I'm gonna fix you up.
and also added to that, because everything is commoditized, it's like I want to buy a Nissan. I'm trusting Nissan as the car company to give me the car. Now I'm trying to figure out the dealer. Who's the dealer? And those reviews are huge. And also the reviews in the service side of things. Because a lot of the money that comes into the dealership is from people bringing their cars in to be serviced. And those reviews are gold. Because, Mustafa, you're going to maybe have a heart attack if I tell you this. So, take your medication. but everybody says my service is the best. Everybody says I'm going to look after you.
For sure.
And it's those reviews that let you believe it and make it proof positive.
Makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference. Can I talk about when is the best time to get reviews and testimonials?
Please.
So let me talk about a couple of mistakes about reviews and testimonials. And the mistake that I see, and I've made it myself for years and years, is people wait for a long time to go and ask their customers for a testimonial or a review. And let's say that I'm working with you and we've provided some good sales and marketing results. And then they're like, oh, let me just drive some more results to Omar and really impress him so that he's just flying and over the moon about my service. And then I will go ask for a testimonial. And so what happens is in a week or two or in a month or two, you'll have totally forgotten about that amazing result and message that we delivered. You have forgotten about it. The emotions are gone, and it's just not there anymore. And now when you go and say, hey, can you give me a testimonial? Then they get into that awkward mode of, oh, let me think about it. And then, oh, yeah, great. And because the emotion is gone. So that's a big mistake. The best time to ask for a testimonial or a review is almost every time you deliver results to your customers and they are experiencing the emotions and the results. The added
experience is huge.
Huge. So every day, in my experience, every day that passes by from the day you deliver some big result, you lose a 10% chance of getting that testimonial. Okay, so 10 days from now, getting that review or testimonial becomes very difficult because they've forgotten about it, the emotion is not there, and now you have to rebuild it and redo it and do all that.
So in watching cop shows, solving a murder, the first 48 hours are the most important. And I'll actually go a little bit backwards in time. It's like if you and I are about to, we're chatting about, Mustafa, you working with me. I'm going to deliver you this amazing thing. And during that conversation, one of the things, I'll set the stage for a referral. Mustafa, my goal is going to be to knock your socks off with the service that we deliver. And you looked at the reviews that we got because that's what we did for others. And when we deliver that, Mustafa, would you be happy to leave a kick-ass amazing review? And you're going to say, sure. And then when we actually do, either it's expected of me to ask you and you're going to be happy to deliver. And I think the main thing is, how do we build trust? How do we over deliver on what we promised? And then take the benefit of that. People saying, oh my God, Umar said if there was a problem, they're going to look after me. I'll tell you, where I built up the most trust is when I've told someone I'm going to look after you back in the Silicon Valley days, and something went wrong and we fixed that thing. Those customers are like customers for life. Because everybody talks about when there's a problem, you're going to look after me. And when you actually do, those referrals are freaking gold.
Absolutely. Actually, studies show that if you address a problem properly, you take care of your customers, like you said, they become lifelong customers. It's a proven thing. And like you said, one of the things that we do up front is to lower the bar. We say, look, I'm going to be honest with you. We will experience problems. There is going to be ups and downs. And I see a big mistake that people make in their sales conversations is they just paint a rosy picture of what they're going to do as everything is going to be perfect and there's not going to be any problems. And sure enough, there's always problems. And so we tell them up front, and we're like, I'm going to be honest with you, Omar, there is probably going to be problems. And I'm just letting you know that we will be there and we will work with you to fix these problems. We do not run away when things go wrong. And that way we just set their expectations. Because again, the other problem people do is they set the bar so high up here and they deliver like down below, and they just kind of shoot themselves in the foot, right? Versus,
absolutely. Yeah. And even if you did a good job, if you set the bar for excellence, that good job is going to seem like, it's not worth complaining about, but I'm not really excited about it either. So absolutely. And going back to something you mentioned about video reviews, one of the nice things about video is very shareable. And a written review hardly gets shared. Actually, video reviews are 1,200% more likely to be shared. So if we were doing a transaction and Mustafa, you give me a nice video testimonial, I know your Facebook handle. We're streaming on Instagram. I know that handle. If I tag you on Instagram with that review, everybody that knows you and likes you and trusts you is going to know that buying a car from Umar is an amazing experience. And I get the benefit. Number one, the video review is strong, and people that know you is just like it's like a gift from the heavens.
Oh yeah. So can we talk about good ways to use testimonials and where to use it?
Absolutely, because some people collect them, and if you collect them, it's like that old adage, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to see it, did it actually fall? So if you've got a testimonial and you don't use it, what was the point? So give us some ways to use a testimonial to increase sales.
100%. So we got written testimonials and we got video testimonials, right? Written testimonials, you want to grab and you want to, what you might call it, use them across your website and your marketing materials. On the homepage, on the product pages, on your checkout page. The checkout page is actually a very important page to have testimonials, because to address those last minute doubts on the checkout page.
Hold that thought just for a second. This is the first time I've heard of that. And that is such a huge, excellent piece of advice, because I never would have thought of that. I don't want to clutter the page up, but having that last little thing that basically doesn't push the person across the line is just a gentle.
Yes. So again, and like you said, we don't want to clutter the page up, but those one-liners, small piece. I trusted Omar and I got these results. I don't have any doubts or regrets about my purchase, right? Those are type of testimonials and reviews that you want to have on the checkout page, right? And then, so you want to plaster them. One mistake that people make, and I've made it myself, is when there's like a half a page long testimonial that they received, like a written testimonial from someone, they grab the entire piece and slap it on their website, right? And that's not a good idea.
No,
you want to grab a snippet, like a line, the most meaningful parts of it, and then put them on your homepage, on your product page, and across your funnel. You want to plaster them, and on your marketing materials, and you want to put them on social media, right? Make a social post and share XYZ. Here's what XYZ said about me and my service, right? Here's what the customer. And then same thing we could do with video testimonials. Spread them across your funnel so people could see there's social proof on every page, right? And then you could use them in your sales presentation. And then you would just spread them strategically. Either you would just bring it up. Here's what XYZ, you would do the introduction. Here's the product. And by the way, here's what XYZ says about this product. Now you're addressing objections before it even comes up.
Absolutely. And a couple of things come up. Number one, hey, Mustafa was someone that was like a little hesitant to use our service, but he decided to use it anyway. And this is what he had to say. And that way you really kind of frame it up as an objection. And the other thing that I use something called Thrive Themes. It's a WordPress tool to basically allow you to build sites. And one of the nice things is you can get your testimonials. Let's say Mustafa's testimonials about digital marketing. You could have 30 of them, and it'll randomly pick 3 to go on a particular page. So if somebody comes back to your site, they're not seeing the same testimonials. It's kind of dynamic, and they see different stuff coming in. And that's also a nice way to use your testimonials. But something I didn't think of before till you mentioned it, like certainly we use, we editorialize the written reviews to get the heart of the review, but that made me think about the video reviews. getting snippets from that would make a really good reel as well, is to just get the most powerful piece that's a 15-second digestible kind of thing.
Yeah.
What we're noticing on Instagram and some other places is we have totally genius video things that are 3 minutes long that are really valuable, that do not get as much love as a nice 30-second spot.
Yeah.
That could get like 1,000 likes.
100%. You could do a 10-second, like if you could grab the most powerful section of your testimonial and put it on YouTube and Instagram and other places as a reel or a short, and it will get a lot more views versus, like you said, a 3-minute thing that is not gonna do you a lot of good.
So what's kind of interesting, you could do a shtick is, let's say you're a car dealer, people buy from me because, and then you just have a 10-second clip from a client from one of their clips, and that could be your shtick. Like this, like people see that and it's like your signature. So,
I mean, you could start the video with saying, "Welcome to XYZ dealership," or whatever dental office. At XYZ, we do this, and boom, you just segment into your testimonials. These guys are amazing. These guys are amazing. There's like 5 people talking about their experience. Bam, that's like social proof, like
on steroids.
That's way possible on steroids. Exactly.
Man, if it was an Olympic event, it would be banned.
Yeah.
All right, so let's change gears. So the number one biggest problem I think a lot of organizations have, a lot of salespeople have, is getting that first appointment.
Yes.
So
now, Omar, before I forget, let me mention this. Getting a review and a testimonial from your customers have proven to increase your customer retention rates. So the psychology behind it is that, and I think I read this in the book called Influence by Bob Cialdini, and he says when someone goes out of their way to share their experience about you, you kind of what's the word? They remember that.
Yeah.
Right. It stays in their mind. Now, when they go out of their way to commit to talk about you publicly or do a video, which is the best form, they become lifetime customers in a lot of cases. So that's another reason to get it. It improves retention.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll add to that, if you let them.
Exactly.
And the way you don't let them is you don't follow up.
That's right.
They've loved your service. They give you an amazing review, and then you just ignore them. So I'm going to give you this 2 heartaches that are hard to get over, Mustafa. One is when you let the love of your life escape. And the second one is when you call up a customer to do that follow-up finally, and they go, "Mustafa, oh my God, I just ordered the service that you sell a week ago because we haven't spoken in a while." You know, after that happens, I feel like getting a knife going stab, because it's not their fault. It's our fault for not following up.
Yeah, that has happened to me. And it was my fault because I didn't follow up enough, or I didn't have enough presence on social media and here and there to be in front of their eyes or via my email.
Right.
Another piece about this whole thing is visibility and being front of eye for when they need it. And so here's another thing. It's like if you heard that story where somebody was digging in the ground to find diamonds, and then he stopped short of like a meter away from diamond, and then the next guy showed up, he dug like for a half an hour and he got a big diamond, and the first guy's like, "Oh my God, I lost that big diamond," because they just gave up. So I think that's another thing that happens with a lot of businesses and salespeople as well. You're absolutely right.
So before we switch topics to first appointments, I think what's our most valuable resource as a company? Turns out it's not us. Turns out it's not our employees. It's a customer that had a great experience that loves us. And we're so busy trying to get the next customer that we forget that most valuable resource. And I think any team in the history of sports, I'm going back to the Roman days when people were screwing up. They said, oh, we're getting a new general manager. And as soon as that general manager comes in, they go, we're going back to the basics. And sometimes we forget the basics. Love your customers, support your customers. Now let's talk about how to get customers. So what is a good way to get that first appointment?
For who? Is it for a startup or someone that's been
We're doing
around?
a startup right now. We're doing a startup. It's called Instant Review Kiosks. The first area we're going to hit is car dealers. When somebody buys a car, so something you had mentioned was, at the height of the experience, someone's buying a car, the keys get put in their hand saying, thank you so much for buying this car. It's like, oh my God, we loved you. And we're going to promise to write you a review. Instead of doing that, they go to the kiosk and they leave a video testimonial that automatically becomes a written review on Google as well. So the dealer gets a video review and a written Google review right at the height of the moment when they're the happiest in getting the car. So we're reaching out to dealers to get appointments. How do we do that?
How do we get appointments to bring the customers in?
No, to sell them the kiosk. So that first appointment, we know the car dealers, we know they need reviews. Probably the general sales manager or the head of marketing would be the person that needs to make that decision. How do we get appointments?
So either first thing I would look in my phone, see if I know anyone that runs a dealership. That would be the first thing. Second thing, I would look in my phone and in my contacts to see who do I know that knows a dealer or an owner of a dealer.
Yes.
Chances are you know someone. And then I would ask them, hey, we have this product and I'm wondering if you'd be open to make an introduction. Now, if you know the owner or someone on your list already, you would just reach out and say, we have this product. I'm wondering if you'd be open to demo my product, right, to get that appointment. I would go in and then say, do a presentation. Here's what it's going to do. And say, I'm going to give you a 30-day or 90-day trial so you could do this. And I'm doing this to get if you're happy, I would love to have a testimonial because that's going to help me grow my business. And we were going to set the bar, straight and clear that here are my intentions. You get this for free, and I'm going to have a testimonial. Then we would take care of that customer, either a friend or a friend of a friend, to the best of our ability for 30 to 90 days, and then we would get a testimonial from them. And if I don't know anyone that is in the dealership world, I would either consider not entering that business because I just don't know anything or anyone about it, or I could pick up the phone or cold call them or message them on their website or social media and tell them, hey, I have an offer for you. You get this deal. We're just starting out and I want you to test my product.
Thank you for sharing that. One of the things I've found in the past that's really interesting is, let's say you live in the state of New York and you want to go into car dealer business and do this kind of business. One of the ways to do that really easily is go to Florida, use LinkedIn, connect with a sales manager in Florida and say, hey, Mustafa, I'm in New York. I do business in New York, but I want to understand the auto market really well. Could you give me 10 minutes so we can chat about that? You know what? I've done that in the past. And somebody in another state is going to say, sure, I'd love to have that conversation. If you call them and say, I want to sell you, it's like, no, I'm busy. But if you call them and say, not selling to you, you'd be surprised how generous people are. And they'll give you a strategy how to enter into your market because people are hot-wired to help.
Yeah.
If you ask someone for help, people are going to go out of their way to help you. If you say, can I have a moment of your time? It's like, no, I'm busy. Use the word help, people will put up their hand and say, sure, what can I do to help? Isn't that amazing, the psychology? They're doing the same thing, but the way you ask help or can I have some time? And in one, you'll get 90% of people saying, love to help, and 90% saying, I don't want to waste my time with you.
You want a better word than help?
Please.
A better word than help is advice. I'm wondering if you'd be open to give me advice on this. because a lot of the hotshots would be open to give you advice.
Oh, I'm an
but
expert.
not-
I'd love to give you my
yeah.
advice.
Hey, I'm wondering if you would give me advice on your expertise. Omar, if I tell you that, would you give me advice on your expertise
Absolutely.
compared to can you help me?
Yep, that's true. See,
Right? And
So what-
I actually learned that from Cialdini too. I think his book Persuasion. He talked
Okay.
about that, the word advice. And so, can I share another lead
please.
gen strategy? Since you and I both have a podcast and a show, if you're going after dealerships, I would start a podcast around the dealership theme, and then I would invite these dealer owners onto the show, go through their experience and the rest of it, and then expose the product to them. That would be
Absolutely.
another good way to go about it. And that's like talking to them, building a relationship, and then offering a 30-day trial or a 90-day trial or providing massive value would be that process or a scenario would be a lot more likely to produce a customer.
Absolutely, because you build a map. Like we're having this conversation for the last 30 minutes, and we're building a relationship. And I'm adding to the conversation. You are. And if we were on a sales appointment together, like I was visiting you, that's a different relationship.
Yeah, I mean they already have their guards up. And then, I mean, that's how you and I actually got started. You messaged me on, I remember that email I saw from you, and you're like, you want to come on my show? I'm like, yeah, I'll show up on your show. And then I showed up, and then I'm like, you want to come on my show? And then that's how we got started. And it was easy versus, the other way. Do you want to buy my stuff? No.
So Mustafa, let's, two things come up. Number one, Cialdini, I think, has been dead and buried for a while.
What do you mean by that?
Like, I think I don't think he's living anymore, is he?
Is he gone? I don't know.
I don't know either. He might be dead, but regardless, his wisdom, that human interface, what's important, is gonna, in the year 2350, his book is still gonna be relevant in terms of that basic human to human connection.
That's right.
So, A, don't discount things from the past. B, one of the reasons for doing this podcast is really learning from people. And that's one of the main reasons that I do this. So the question to you, Mustafa, is this. In your podcast, in your readings, what's an underrated piece of advice that served you really well? That you go, I'm so glad I learned that. Like, that's been huge for me. What's something you'd like to share with the viewers?
And with respect to
sales, life, dating advice, whatever, like what's something you've picked up along the way that has been really useful to you?
Oh, the most powerful thing for me has been the 80-20 principle, hands down. And I learned this from Tim Ferriss years ago. In 2017, I picked up the book 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch, and it really changed everything for me. And the idea is that 20% of your activities produce 80% of your results. 20% of your customers produce 80% of your revenue. Probably 10 or 20% of your customers would actually give you a review or a testimonial. 20 or 30% of those testimonials would actually probably give you business, like are most useful. And it's a principle that governs the whole universe. Let's say you can address 80% of your customers' objections with customer testimonials.
Yeah,
their doubts and objections. So 80-20 is, I'm a huge 80-20 fan. I've written articles. It's a part of my upcoming book, Simple Marketing Formula. And it's powerful.
Love that. Here's one. I think he was a guy I'm looking up right now. I think it was Perry Marshall.
Yeah.
He took the 80-20 principle and he used it in a different way. And the way he used it was 20% of your customers will be willing to pay 10 times more if you add a little bit more value.
100%.
And I'd never seen the 80-20 principle used on pricing. And I thought that was like totally genius.
Oh, yeah. I've had Perry on my show before. He did 80/20 of sales and marketing. That was his book. And so I ran a course on 80/20 principle. And so we did some analysis on pricing. Excuse me. So when it comes to decision making, there are about 19 items that help a customer that contribute to a decision making process. Okay. And price is only one of them. Okay. However, most people treat price as if it is 80 or 100% of the decision-making criteria, right? Where price is like ease of use, friendliness, branding, proof of concept. There's a whole bunch of criterias, right? Price is one of them.
So agreed. And I think the flip side of that is, as salespeople, we forget price is just one element of it, and maybe not the most important, but the buyer forgets it too. And oftentimes the buyer thinks price is the only thing, and that's why we ask questions as salespeople. Because I know the other side of things is when you ask someone, when you get a job, what's the most important thing? My salary and compensation. Then you ask them, how important is the team you work with? More important. How important is your boss? More important. So absolutely, as salespeople, we have such power if we understand the landscape and we ask brilliant questions. Yeah. And the brilliant question I'm going to ask you, Mustafa, is this: how can our listeners and viewers get a hold of you?
You could go on LinkedIn and do a search for Mustafa Hosseini, and I do come up, hopefully. You could go to persyo.com, persyo.com, and that's our website. And you could find me on most social platforms like Facebook and Instagram and here and there. And you can actually download our checklist for customer retention to improve your retention and customer engagement on our website. It's a free checklist. Brilliant.
We're going to put all your contact information in the show notes. Mustafa, thanks so much for being on the show. I'm going to stop the stream here.
Absolutely. It was a great conversation here.
And let's chat after we go offline.
Absolutely.